Hey guys, we're going to start this live broadcast in just a few seconds. Just hang in there for just a second and we'll be right there. We have a lot to talk about. Ed's coming here in just a second. And we're going to talk about Michael Cohen, Deutsch Bank, Ed Burke, all kinds of crazy news going on right now. So just hang in there just a second here, okay? So Ed's coming in right now. As you know, as you've likely heard, Michael Cohen pled guilty today on charges related to lying to Congress. The lies were related to things he told Congress related to the Trump Tower Moscow project.
Well, he basically said that he told Congress that everything related to the Trump Tower Moscow project ended in January of 2016, but now he's coming forward and saying actually during much of the campaign this deal was still going back and forth with Russia, which basically means that while Trump was campaigning, while the RNC was changing the platform to be pro-Russia, Trump, through Michael Cohen, was trying to reach a deal with Vladimir Putin, the Kremlin, and Russia in order to get a deal for Trump Tower, which would have made him a lot of money.
Yeah, and you bring in all these other figures. There's Eddie keeps moving and interfering in this, but
my head's chopped.
Okay, so everybody, let me fix this here. Everybody keeps the court filing by Robert Mueller. It's actually signed by Robert Mueller, and it mentions two people. It says individual 1 and individual 2. Individual 1 is President Trump. Individual 2 is a man named Felix Sater. Now, Felix Sater is an incredibly interesting guy, and when you link the fact that Sater's mentioned in this with Cohen lying about this, and with what the lies were about, the picture really becomes clear, and it's almost impossible to not clearly see there was collusion involved or conspiracy.
Criminal conspiracy, I think. I mean, it seems obvious to me, and you know Mueller has a lot more information than we the public can actually see. But all this news about Cohen comes as several other major bombshells occurred today as well. They include Deutsch Bank, which was raided, Ed Burke, law offices which were raided, and earlier today Brian did a story about
a guy named Randy Credico. He was an associate of Roger Stone, and he put out some pretty interesting tweets implicating Trump in some crimes. I talked to Credico this morning, and he said he was joking, but we'll get more into that a little bit later. Let's jump to the Cohen news first. And like I was saying before, Felix Sater, he's an interesting character. He was actually a government informant for 10 years. In 1998, he was charged with basically a $40 million pump and dump stock scheme. And for 10 years, the government basically, they froze his froze the court filings. They sealed it off so nobody knew what was happening. And in this 10-year period between 1998 and 2009, he was actually a government informant. The government said that he was instrumental in bringing down a lot of people involved in harming our national security. Now, Sater, so we don't know if Sater still was an informant after this or not, but whatever he did, he had his $40 million pump and dump, and they reduced the sentence to a $25,000 fine after 10 years. Now, Sater, the most interesting part about all this is that if you remember probably about a year ago, it was reported that Felix Sater was involved in this Trump Tower deal. And something he said...
Yeah, well, it was in the email. He actually sent an email to Michael Cohen. I'm not sure the exact date. But that email... Can you bring that up, Brian? In that email, if you bring up my Twitter stream, it's there. In that email... Let me just find it here. Go down. In that email to Michael Cohen, November 3rd, 2015, he said, "Buddy, our boy can become president of the USA, and we can engineer it. I will get all of Putin's team to buy in on it. I will manage this process." I mean, right there, it's basically the link to collusion. At least that's the way I see it, and I'm sure Mueller's team's looking at it the same way.
He's basically saying that he's going to work with Putin to get Trump elected president. And at the same exact time, Michael Cohen is talking to Felix Sater, as we found out in this court filing
to arrange a Trump Tower deal in Moscow. And now we found out that this Trump Tower deal, the discussions went way into 2016, which was way deep into the Trump campaign against Hillary Clinton. All the while, Russia's releasing these emails to help Trump in the election. All the while, the RNC's platform, which Trump supposedly changed, but it was changed to be pro-Russia. It was not as supportive of Ukraine. It was more in support of Russia. That all was taking place. So, to me, that's collusion. To me, that's likely a criminal conspiracy.
It's as clear as day that there was a conspiracy involved. And if you're denying it still, I'm sorry, but you're an idiot. I mean, unless this is the biggest coincidence in the history of mankind,
I don't think it could be a coincidence.
It couldn't be a coincidence. It's just unbelievable how much of this story has come together, and the fact that people, Fox News, people on the right are all still saying that, oh, no collusion, no conspiracy involved, Trump wasn't involved. It's right there in front of us, and they're not going after, Cohen's not pleading guilty here because they're going after some pawn like Roger Stone. They're going after the guy at the top, and it's undoubtable.
Yeah. Well, and then this all comes right after Trump just submitted questions to Robert Mueller, and reportedly one of the questions that Mueller asked Trump, which Trump proceeded to answer in written form, was in regards to the Trump Tower meetings. And if you actually go back to, I think it was April of this year, the New York Times released a list of the questions that Mueller originally had sent to Trump, and there was a question on there asking about Trump Tower and asking about the discussions he had basically with Michael Cohen in regards to the Trump Tower project in Russia. So Trump just answered Mueller about this, and likely, I mean, I'm guessing he said something along the lines as, yeah, in January of 2016 that project fell apart. Meanwhile, Cohen's coming forward with evidence, it's not just hearsay, it's not just him saying so, but he has email evidence showing that he was in communication with Russia in regards to this.
All the way up until June or past June of 2016, which is when Trump was on the campaign trail. So as Trump's campaigning here, they're also trying to build a Trump Tower in Moscow.
As Trump's saying, I have no business ties with Russia, I have nothing to do with Russia. I've never had any deals with Russia. I'm not planning on any deals with Russia. And
at the same time, they're changing the RNC platform to include favorable language towards Russia and against Ukraine. And it's just baffling to me that anybody can actually look at what happened today and not realize that Trump is in very, very big trouble.
Yeah. So also today, to add to this, right before Michael Cohen pleaded guilty in the courts, and right before that news broke, Deutsch Bank in Germany, in Frankfurt, Germany, was raided for money laundering. They were raided for money laundering. We don't know the details. We know it was related to Panama Papers, supposedly. But Deutsche Bank has such a connection to Trump and such a connection to Russia. A few other things, and it's not just Trump. Trump doesn't just have business with Deutsche Bank, but Jared Kushner does as well. I'll just name a few of the things. Trump still owes Deutsche Bank hundreds of millions of dollars. Kushner got a $285 million loan 1 month before the 2016 election from Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank was one of those banks who would loan Trump hundreds of millions of dollars when no other bank in the world was willing to give him money. Deutsche Bank also, they were investigated by Mueller to see if they actually sold Trump's debt to sanctioned Russian banks, meaning to see if these Russian banks actually took on Trump's debt, meaning Trump owed them money, basically saying that, we have you, Trump, you better do what we say you have. It was reported earlier this year that Robert Mueller had subpoenaed Deutsche Bank for financial records in regard to Donald Trump, and at that time it was said that Donald Trump was on the very verge of firing Robert Mueller. And then Robert Mueller's office actually came out and said, no, Trump, we did not subpoena these records. And Trump kind of backed off a little bit. Because if you recall, the red line for Trump was if they start investigating his finances. And they've gone beyond that now. And with with this raid of Deutsch Bank. We don't have confirmation it had anything to do with Trump, but it certainly seems like it.
Yeah, and this comes along the same lines as shortly after this raid, there's another raid in Chicago of the offices of Ed Burke, which is at Chicago City Hall building.
He was what, a real estate attorney or tax attorney?
This was a tax attorney. He actually worked for Trump for 12 years until he finally stopped working for him. They had a dispute or something like that, and he stopped working for him this summer actually, and I'm sorry, the summer of 2017, and this place is raided. We don't know.
Paper bags were taped on the windows so you couldn't see into the windows.
It's not known either if this is related to Trump, but the fact that this Deutsche Bank thing, the Ed Burke thing, all happening days after Trump turns in his questions to Mueller, and days after Manafort and Cohen are implicated in this for lying, I think that says a whole lot. And I think the rest of this week and next week, I think the dominoes are going to further fall.
Well, we know that Mueller likes issuing indictments on Friday, so tomorrow could be a big day.
Generally, the grand jury convenes on Fridays, so if there's going to be indictments, it's very possible. And another thing is, other Mueller indictments were also handed down while Trump was out of the country. Remember when he was meeting with Putin last time?
Yeah,
that was right. I think it was right before that meeting.
Whether that has any influence or not, we don't know. But it seems like Mueller's moving really, really fast right now, and I think Trump's getting nervous.
So the other big story that we actually broke, and I had the opportunity to speak to Randy Credico. Randy Credico is a radio show host. He was a comedian. He was on the Tonight Show decades ago, but he basically went on a tweet storm last night, and he started replying to Trump's tweets with some condescending things. I'm going to read you some of the things he tweeted to Trump last night. Let me just pull this up here, okay? All right, so last night he began tweeting to Trump. Here are a few of the things he said. What Roger Stone has confided in me about your depraved sexual behavior and your venal economic crimes is enough to put you in prison and then orange jumpsuit to match your hair for the rest of your life. Stone has information about you going back 37 years and your sexual perversion and economic crimes. Stay tuned, fatso. Roger Stone has told me stuff about you that leads me to believe that everything in the Steele dossier is true, and particularly the golden showers. Roger Stone has confided in me that he has material on you that will put you in prison for the rest of your life, and if there's reincarnation for the next 6,000 years of your life. Stay tuned. Now, Randy Credico has interviewed with Robert Mueller. He pled the fifth when the House subpoenaed him, but he did interview with Robert Mueller, and the fact that he's tweeting this after he interviewed with Robert Mueller.
Well, and we like Brian said, he did reach out to him, and he claims that it was all a joke. Now I'll read you some of the stuff he told me this morning when I talked to him on the phone. He said regarding his tweets, they're all joke. They're all a joke. I closed that account down. He closed his Twitter account down shortly after making those tweets. After a year and a half of Roger Stone effing with my head, lying about me, putting up stuff, me being a drunk and all that, it was just like a taste of his own medicine. Now, we don't know. Maybe he was joking. Maybe he was just being sarcastic. But it seems pretty damning to me that he'd say something like that out of the blue to President Trump. I don't know. Who knows?
It's even crazier that he deleted his whole Twitter account with 30,000 tweets.
And he's cooperating with Mueller. So if he does know something, it's likely that he's probably telling Mueller this stuff. This seems pretty damning if Roger Stone is to flip one day.
Oh, absolutely. So there's so much happening right now. It's really difficult to keep up. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more news breaking as we're putting this out right here. But it's just stay tuned. I think there's going to be more news trickling through. I think that Friday could be a big day. I mean, I know I've said this before, and it turned out it wasn't. But I think things are heating up.
Cohen's plea agreement also implicates Donald Trump Jr. in further lies before Congress, because he basically said that Trump family act. Michael Cohen's come forward now and said that the Trump family was made well aware of the Trump Tower deal, and Donald Trump Jr. kind of acts like, oh, he didn't really know anything about it. So, I mean, I don't know if that's going to be enough for perjury, since Cohen said he didn't know much about it, but
Donald Trump Jr. was basically the right-hand man of Donald Trump. He pretty much ran the business.
My guess is that Cohen has evidence in the form of emails, maybe even phone conversations, maybe tape discussion, recorded discussions with Donald Trump Jr., Donald Trump Sr., and he can probably implicate Trump Jr. as well as Trump Sr. in these crimes for Trump Jr.'s part lying to Congress and maybe even more.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Roger Stone, Donald Trump Jr., they're the next to be indicted. I think that he's definitely keeping these guys till the end, though, Mueller. I think he knows that if he indicts Don Jr., all hell's going to break loose, and his investigation's going to be probably put to an end.
I don't know if it'll be put to an end.
Well, at least Trump will try to end it or do something, you know. But crazy stuff for sure. If you guys have any questions, we'll take some questions. I know it's been a crazy day, and it's hard to keep up with everything that actually is happening.
Yeah, for those of you watching on Twitter, you can click on the video, and it'll bring you to a Periscope, and you can ask questions on the sidebar. Feel free, and we'll. Somebody asked if we're twins. Yes, we are twins. Somebody said we should do podcasts. We are actually working on podcast setup that's going to get going sometime soon. We'll have news about that later.
How long is it going to take? I assume you mean the whole investigation, and I think that we're nearing the end of at least the collusion part. I think there's going to be further. I think the money laundering and the business related aspects of the investigation will continue for quite a while. Yeah. I mean, you just based on the Edward Burke raid. If that's related, there's no way they're going to finish that anytime soon if they just raided the place.
Well, and Deutsch Bank, if that's related in any way. I mean, there's a lot of paperwork to go through. I think this is going to push well into 2019 and even possibly 2020. It's possible.
Yeah, but I think the collusion part of this and possibly the Trump's efforts to try and impede this investigation, that part of it, I think that's probably going to wrap up sooner than many people think.
I think we're going to see a report from Mueller sometime after January, but that's not going to mark the end of the investigation by any means. So it's going to be kind of like a review of what's happened so far so that Congress can see it, so that Whitaker, I guess if he's still in charge as Attorney General, he'll see it.
Yeah, I also think that Mueller's going to kind of try, like many other people have mentioned this, it's not my idea here, but I think Mueller's going to try and tell a story through these court filings. As you see today, this filing on Cohen's plea agreement, it basically tells a story. It doesn't mention Trump, it doesn't mention Felix Sater, but if you read between the lines, you know it's Trump and Felix Sater. And he's telling a story, he's telling us that he knows what Cohen knows, and that Cohen is talking and he's linking everything there. We can clearly see the line of collusion now, the line of conspiracy.
And let me say this, I don't think Robert Mueller's using Michael Cohen's words for anything. He's not going to just buy into everything Michael Cohen says. As we saw with Paul Manafort, he didn't just buy into everything Manafort said. He found out Manafort was lying, so he ended up canceling a cooperation agreement. But with Cohen, like I said, I don't think Mueller's actually going to just buy everything he says. He's going to try and corroborate everything. He's going to try and find emails. He's going to find corroborating witnesses who can testify to the exact same things that Cohen's saying. So he's going to find maybe recorded phone conversations that Cohen has. He'll find other evidence. He'll use Cohen to get to that evidence.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to use Cohen. He's not going to use Cohen's words against Trump as much as he's going to use the evidence that Cohen points him to against Trump. And that it's big that we know that Cohen's fully cooperating, obviously, whereas Manafort wasn't cooperating. And it appears that Mueller likely realized that Manafort wasn't going to cooperate, and he might have kind of let that play into his favor.
Well, there's a lot of people who are assuming that, or not assuming, a lot of people who are guessing that Robert Mueller might have actually expected Manafort to kind of go back and forth with Trump and cooperate with Trump.
Well, they had a joint agreement, legal agreement.
So, like, a lot of people are assuming that Mueller may have actually set Manafort up to collude with Trump on before Trump actually handed in his written questions.
Yeah,
to see if he'd lie.
So he knew Manafort was lying. He knew that Manafort was talking to Trump through the joint defense agreement that they have. So Manafort's telling Trump, "Oh, I said this," to Mueller, and Trump is maybe telling Manafort, "Say this to Mueller." Manafort says this to Mueller. Mueller basically charges him with lying again, and then Trump, right after Trump hands in his questions, possibly lying and going along with Manafort's storyline. That's kind of what I think probably may have happened.
I think that's a good chance. Somebody asked if we think that there's going to be other congressmen or senators indicted by Mueller. I wouldn't rule anything out right now. I mean,
we don't see it. We don't. Yeah, there's no evidence. We're not going to speculate, but just some of the things that have happened.
There's some things that point to Dana Rohrabacher, who's no longer a congressman, but he had some ties to Russia. We don't know.
And Nigel Farage of the whole Brexit thing,
which just seems to be kind of interrelated with the whole Trump Russia.
Because Roger Stone was also indirectly speaking to Farage, and Farage was meeting with Julian Assange from WikiLeaks. So it's the Brexit, Trump, and Russia. It's all connected, and I think we're going to really see the bigger picture here in the next couple of months.
Somebody asked, how is Mueller going to get Trump indicted? Mueller's probably not going to get Trump indicted, at least not now. In order for Trump to get indicted, he first needs to be impeached, and then he needs to be kicked out of office.
Some legal scholars will argue that a sitting president can be indicted, but I don't see Mueller taking that chance. If Mueller tries to indict Trump, it goes to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court overturns it. It'll be such a big defeat for the Mueller probe that it would kind of
discredit.
Yeah, it would discredit everything he found, I would think.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I don't see that happening. He could be indicted if he's impeached and then thrown out of office, or after 2020 he doesn't get reelected, becomes a civilian again, and then he could be indicted. So there's a lot of ways this could unfold if Mueller has enough to indict him, of course.
Somebody asked, you guys have a lot of details come through at a faster rate than many of the major news channels. How do you do it? We reach out to people. We make phone calls like we did today.
With these major stories, we didn't get anything exclusive or anything. Yeah, the Credico thing we did, but
you just set alerts and you kind of get this stuff and you jump on it fast and kind of try and understand it.
Yeah, we have a good team of writers at Hill Reporter who we can quickly assign stories to, and they investigate and report on it.
Yeah. Give the presidency to Hillary now. Obviously, you can't do that. I wish you could, but that's not going to happen. What about the New York Attorney General indicting Trump? Yeah, but it's going to have to be after his presidency's over with, whether he's impeached and convicted in the Senate and thrown out of office, or whether it's after January 20th, 2021, when his term is up.
So I've noticed the GOP starting to kind of turn on Mueller in a whole new way. You were telling me about it earlier today with the whole Epstein thing. Where, what is it, Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein and the whole sex ring, and there's rumors that Bill Clinton had met this guy and had sex with underage people, but basically Jeffrey Epstein was a sexual predator, and he did sexually assault young women.
He got off on it though after Acosta, who works for Trump's administration right now, basically let him off with a very, very small punishment.
Yeah, it was like house arrest or something. But anyway, the right's now saying, well, Robert Mueller was the FBI director during all this, and they let him off. It's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard, because do you know how many indictments and how many legal cases are in the U.S. court systems at any one time that the FBI has been a part of? Robert Mueller's not sitting there going through each case, signing off on every single indictment, every single charge.
With a fine-tuned comb. That's not happening.
So you're probably going to be hearing a lot about that.
The New York Attorney General could, like somebody asked, could go after Don Jr. And if they do that, that would be an unpardonable crime. And there's a lot of speculation that could happen, especially in regards to Trump Organization, which is basically run by Trump Jr. Was run by Ivanka Trump, Eric Trump, and the Trump family. There's I believe 1 or 2 investigations into them right now, looking at their finances and how they took money that was supposedly for charity and gave it to Donald Trump's campaign and used it for personal expenses.
Yeah, here's another question. Do you think Matthew Whitaker is squashing subpoenas and indictments related to the Mueller probe? And I'm not going to rule that out. We don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. Whitaker's being very quiet. He's not talking to Congress. But take note that Mueller prepared for this. Mueller knew that after the elections that all hell was going to break loose. And he knew that it was very likely that Sessions was going to be fired. And he knew that if Sessions was fired, Whitaker could be placed in. So he very likely has multiple sealed indictments. And if you look at I don't know what you call it, the ledger or whatever at the Washington District Court level, there are multiple sealed indictments. I think it's something like 34 since the beginning of the year, and like 18 since August. And this is an abnormal amount. Yeah. You usually only seal an indictment if you're going after someone, and once they're brought in, you unseal it. So typically a sealed indictment's only a few weeks, maybe a month or 2 long before it's unsealed. But these have been sealed for many, many months. And there's speculation that this list of possibly dozens of sealed indictments are related to the Mueller probe, so that he could have indicted 20 plus people, and nobody knows this except the people who were
exactly. I don't think Matt Whitaker has anything to gain by going after Mueller or by circumventing this investigation in any way. The only thing that's going to happen to him if he does do something like that is he'll face legal ramifications himself.
Yeah,
he has an acting attorney general job right now. It's unlikely he's going to be given the full attorney general job after everything that's come out about him. So there's nothing that he can do that's going to help his cause in terms of hurting Mueller.
I mean,
so
he's going to...
On a personal level, why would he do that?
Yeah, he could definitely put himself in legal jeopardy. The only way I could imagine him doing something would be if they have something on him. Like if Putin or Trump have something on him and they're bribing with it, but I highly doubt that's the case.
That's a reach.
I don't like Whitaker being in this position at all because he could squash subpoenas, but I think Mueller prepared for this, and I think that, and once there's a sealed indictment, there's nothing at all that Whitaker can do about him.
Yeah, like I read an article earlier today that said Trump could fire Mueller, but he can't fire the grand jury. Meaning the grand jury stays on, and the grand jury, everything grand jury's indicted individuals on under seal, they remain.
Yep. Yeah, so none of that can be taken back. Whitaker can't touch any of that, and I'm pretty confident that there's multiple sealed indictments related to this. I can't say for certain, but I'm pretty confident that Mueller thought ahead and got these indictments in before Sessions was fired.
Yes, I agree.
Please keep doing this live stream. We need more intellectual information. But we try. We're both pretty busy. It might look like we're sitting here tweeting all day, but a lot of the tweets we schedule out or we do on the fly on our phone while we're through voice recognition. So we both have 2 kids. We're not constantly sitting at our office tweeting. When we get
we also run Hill Reporter or help run Hill Reporter, which is our news site, giving articles to our writers, writing articles, etc. So we don't have all that much time to do these. We like doing them every now and then, and we will try to do more in the future.
Yeah. Somebody said you guys will keep investigating Jeffrey Epstein. We haven't really investigated him. We're just kind of going on what other people have reported. I do think that more needs to come out on that. I think it's very important. I do think that, like I said earlier, that the right's going to try and use this against Mueller in some convoluted way because he was the FBI director who likely had no.
Well, it's like they keep going after Mueller, and these attacks last like a week to a week and a half, and then it dies out because everybody's like, okay, there's nothing to that. Just like the whole Jacob Wall and Jack Berkman sexual assault allegations, where they went after him saying, okay, he raped this woman named Caroline Cass, but it turns out Caroline Cass tells us that that she didn't want them releasing this accusation document, and that's fizzled out now.
Yeah, that whole Jacob Wall thing, that was quite an interesting story. And that leads into the Michael Avenatti thing, and that's a mess too. We get a lot of flack, people saying we supported Michael Avenatti. We're not supporting him as a person and everything he does. We support his ideas and some of the stuff he tweets.
And some of the legal action he's taken. You know, it's been very beneficial.
We can't control if Michael Avenatti does or does not assault a woman, or does or does not screw over Stormy Daniels. That's out of our control. We can still back some of the things he's tweeted and said about this whole Trump fiasco, but that doesn't mean we back his actions. And I'm not saying that he did assault a woman, but it's just kind of it's kind of nutty that people are attacking us over that.
What's up with the Avenatti Wall story? As far as I know, there's nothing. We've asked Avenatti about this on several occasions. He hasn't given us anything in regard to Wall.
I don't know if it was just surefire intelligence saying that they were behind it, maybe jokingly, and Avenatti jumped on that. I don't know. Maybe Avenatti has information related to this, connecting Wall to it, but we haven't seen any, and nothing we've investigated has shown us anything.
Although he has reiterated that he's going after Jacob Wall. So
yeah,
we had to leave that open-ended until we get more information.
Yeah, I don't really like talking about that whole thing because that's in the past and has really nothing to do with anything that's happening right now. They tried smearing Mueller's name. They failed. They failed in spectacular fashion, and it's time to move on and look at what actually is happening right now.
Mueller has a lot of integrity. He was in Vietnam. He was actually shot in the leg in Vietnam, saving other soldiers' lives. And he was brought home, and they said, "Okay, you don't need to go back anymore." But he still went back to Vietnam and kept fighting for, I believe, a few months until they basically made him come back. He's a man of integrity. He has an impeccable record. You know, you're going to see people attack him just because they don't like the fact he's the one in charge of investigating Donald Trump, and he's actually finding crimes within the Trump campaign and within the Trump administration. It's just they don't like him, so they're going to constantly attack him.
Yeah. A lot of people keep saying, what about Pence? What about Pence? And up until this point, we don't really have anything solid on Pence. Mike Pence was recommended by Paul Manafort, and that's about as criminal as it gets for him. There's not really anything we've seen solid against Pence. That's not to say that he didn't break a law and he's not covering stuff up, but we're both hesitant to say anything about what's going to happen to Mike Pence. If Trump's gone, it's very likely that Pence is probably going to be president.
I would think it would be very hard for Pence to get reelected, though, if Trump was to be impeached.
Yeah, and especially hard if he were to pardon Trump.
Yeah.
And that's not going to protect against state crimes either.
Somebody said you can't discredit Mueller, he's a straight shooter, and I agree. There's nothing he's done yet that can be discredited. His investigation hasn't had any leaks. His court documents have been full of information. The FISA warrants, there's the FBI FISA warrants that he didn't have anything to do with, are legitimate, unlike what Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson will say on Fox News. The investigation seems solid. There's people who have admitted guilt. There's people who have been proven guilty. So it's a solid investigation.
Yeah. Somebody asked, "What about Ivanka Trump's emails?" And there could have been something illegal there. I don't know. I think that's the least of our concerns right now. I think that. I mean, they made such a big deal about Hillary's email. That's the only reason why we even would bring it up. I think we got to look past that. There's way more to worry about than Ivanka's emails right now.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not worried about it. I don't think people should really be too concerned about it. The only thing that aggravates me is that the huge deal made about Hillary's emails, and Republicans are kind of just brushing Ivanka's emails off. I don't think either are that big of a deal.
Somebody said, do you guys get paid to tweet or retweet? Absolutely not. The whole rumor about that started because of a video that somebody edited of us basically recording a parody for our podcast that we wanted to launch. The person interviewing me in that video is that guy right there.
Like that, if you see the video, there's some guy that's talking and we're always like, I'm trying to think how I spoke. I was like, hey, is it true that you guys are paid to tweet?
Yeah, we get paid by the higher ups to sow division and tweet. And then I said,
are you serious?
And then I said, no, of course not. But that's what everybody says. They think George Soros pays us. But they cut off that part conveniently. And InfoWars ran with the story, and it blew up, and it had like millions of views. But we're not paid to tweet. I would tell you if anybody pays us to tweet. We haven't been paid to tweet.
I wish
yet.
we were paid to tweet. If anybody wants to pay us to tweet, just send me a direct message on Twitter, and I'll let you know how you can pay us.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be something above $5 a tweet because it's not worth our time.
George Soros is already paying us $4.50, so
I'm sure somebody's gonna probably cut this video and just have that segment. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but I gave you guys some ideas. But no, we're not paid to tweet. We were never paid to tweet. We will not be paid to tweet. And we have no connection to George Soros, who is an awesome person, a great philanthropist. No connection to Hillary Clinton. Never talked to her in our lives. And it's just more crap to try and discredit us. Like the whole Ponzi scheme stuff that people claim we ran. And we're open about everything. You can talk to us about it. I try and answer every question. Well, not every question, but if you post something to me, message me and ask me a legitimate question about myself, about my past, I will respond honestly and openly. I have multiple articles about our issues.
George, wait a minute. Wait, George, hold on. Not right now.
George, keep quiet over there. No, I'm sorry. That was my my dog barking. Anyway, we're open about everything, and we don't have anything to hide. You can blast us all you want. You can create stories all you want, but it's not going to stop us from tweeting.
And if you want to call us grifters because we haven't made any money off of this, you can do that if you want.
Both of you need to go on Stephen Colbert. Hey, if Stephen's out there watching, I would be more than happy to go on there. We actually have a book that I'd like to promote there, and it's benefiting the ACLU. So if you want to have us on the show, I'll be more than happy.
Somebody said, whiny voice bros. We don't have whiny voices. What are you talking about?
These people are so stupid. No, really, I can't control my voice. If you want to make fun of my voice, I really don't give a crap. Make fun of it all you want.
But Brian's is whinier than mine.
No, it's not. All right, now let's get back serious. Any other questions before we head out? When will Trump be gone? We don't know. I think there's a very likely chance that the House is going to impeach him probably in the first half of next year. I also think that it's going to be difficult for the Senate to convict him because you need 2/3, which is 67 senators to vote for a conviction. But
I go back and forth on that. I think that if Mueller can come forward with evidence of severe crimes, is Trump being paid by Russia? Is Trump in the pocket of Russia? Is Trump so pro-Russia because Putin's been holding all this stuff over his head and Putin's basically helping him monetarily? I think it's going to be very hard, even for Republican senators, to actually come out and say, I still support this president.
Yeah, and the important thing you note is the 2020 election is an incredibly skewed one, hurting the Republicans in that the Republicans, I think, have 22 Senate seats up for grabs, and the Democrats only have, I think, 11. So twice as many. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's 22 to 11, but I might be 1 or 2 off. But that's going to put a lot of pressure on the GOP, the Senate, particularly those in the Senate, to do what America thinks is right. So it's going to be a public opinion thing. If the general American public believes that Trump absolutely broke the law and should be impeached, the Senate's going to have little choice but to impeach him.
Well, I mean, you look at the latest Gallup poll, and Trump, I believe, had a 38% approval rating and a 60% disapproval rating. You can see that his approval rating is trending downward and his disapproval is trending upward. So, but if the Mueller investigation continues to drop bombshells like we saw today,
I would love to see what his next approval ratings are. I think they're going to dip towards 35%. With that said, they're still so high among Republicans that
I feel like no matter what Trump does, he's still going to have a 25% approval rating just because of his base.
Well, I think Richard Nixon had, I think, like a 28% approval when he resigned. So, I mean, that says a lot right there too. And things were less partisan at that point too.
Yeah, exactly.
There's more moderation in all politics. Putin meeting canceled due to Ukraine crisis. And yes, and that kind of surprised me. But at the same time, I think Trump knows that this whole Russia thing's going to blow up, and the further away from Putin you can get, the better.
I don't know if it had anything to do with the whole Russia thing. I think there are GOP senators who are pressuring him into not meeting with Putin in regards to... Did you see the video of the Russian ship that actually bumped into the Ukrainian ship? Did you see that? And it was obvious. Russia says, oh no, they bumped us. But it's obvious that this much bigger Russian ship just turns right in front of the Ukrainian ship.
I think it's funny that Russia doesn't realize that there's actually video recordings out there now. This is 2018. Like, everybody has a smartphone. You can't lie like you used to. And
well, what I found funny was that, look, wasn't the recording on the Russian ship?
Was it?
Sort of seemed like, maybe I got the ships confused. But
maybe it's informant working for the United States. Maybe it's Michael Cohen. Maybe Michael Cohen was on the ship.
Maybe it's Paul Manafort or George Papadopoulos. So there was also that story about George Papadopoulos that broke yesterday by Natasha Bertrand and Scott Stedman for the Atlantic. Can you recap that?
I can't.
I know. I just lost my track.
Basically, it was related. It was in regards to deals that he was involved in with Russia that was going to pay him and Trump a lot of money, supposedly. So
this was during the campaign. During the campaign, he said that he told somebody he knew, a confidant, that he was working on deals with Russia that would help him profit as well as Donald Trump profit. So, I mean, that seems pretty damning as well.
And meanwhile, Papadopoulos is right now in jail for the next, I think, 12 days. 11 or 12 days. It was a 2-week sentence.
And this comes on the heels of a couple months of tweeting
conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory. Like, if this guy doesn't go to jail, I'm pretty sure jail again for these other crimes that are possible. I think he's either going to be killed by Simona Papadopoulos, his wife, and possible Russian agent.
Don't say that. Brian's joking.
I'm joking. Okay, don't sue me for that. Or he's going to work for InfoWars or Fox News.
Well, the whole Simona Mangianti Papadopoulos, George Papadopoulos situation just seems bizarre. Part of me wants to think there's something that's missing here. Something that's maybe Mueller knows something. Maybe I just don't know. It's just so hard to say.
I mean, Simona, his wife, clearly has a Russian accent. I don't care what you say. It's a Russian accent, right?
I think so.
At least in my opinion. And I spoke to both Simona and to George Papadopoulos' mother. Her name is Kiki, I think. Kiki Papadopoulos. And they're both in this dispute where Kiki says that Simona says that Kiki basically tried killing George and her baby. Yeah, and Kiki, George's mother, says that Simona is a nutcase and is destroying her son and that they have no affection toward each other and it's all a show. So
I still don't know if I feel like they're both being very dramatic. I feel like they're both
wanting a TV show or something, trying to profit on all this, which is possible.
But I mean, I also don't think I believe Kiki Papadopoulos 100% when some of the things she says.
No, and they both, I mean, I'll put this lightly because I kind of have respect for his mother, who's probably just out for his interest, but they both seemed a little crazy. And I'm sorry, Kiki, I don't know you. Maybe you aren't crazy, but some of the stuff said by you and Simona were a bit out there.
It seemed like Simona and George Papadopoulos went from being anti-Trump after he was arrested and kind of in support of Robert Mueller and in support of the truth to being completely on the opposite end of the spectrum, being conspiracy theorists for the right wing, now claiming that the Professor Misfud was working for Australia, and Australia's government was pro-Hillary and against Trump. It's like they're like crazy conspiracy theories.
Yeah, it's just nuts. Like I don't know. Let's move on from that story. We can't really say because we don't have any evidence of anything counter to what's out there in the public right now.
Somebody said Seth Abrahams's book Proof of Collusion is a good book. I haven't had a chance to read it, but I am planning on buying it. I hear a lot of good things about it.
Yeah, and Seth is really really awesome. Like he gets a lot of flack. He's supposedly a grifter along with us, but he really puts out. He's probably less of a grifter than us, and we're not grifters at all. So he puts out a lot of great information, and he was, I think, a former prosecutor.
I know he did some sort of attorney,
and he really kind of understands how everything works. So if you ever have the chance to follow Seth Abramson.
Somebody asked, what are the chances that Paul Manafort gets a pardon and skips the country before state charges? I think the likelihood of a pardon has increased significantly over the last couple of weeks. I just don't see it working.
There's so much to a pardon that could backfire significantly for both Trump and Manafort that I don't think it's going to actually happen. For instance, if Trump is pardoning Manafort as part of a deal so that Manafort doesn't talk, that will be shot down by the Supreme Court in a heartbeat. I don't care. Brett Kavanaugh's going to shoot that down. You can't. Yeah. He can't use his pardon power to pardon an individual so that they don't speak about his crimes. I mean, that's clearly against the Constitution.
It's obstruction of justice, like in every sense of the word, in every sense of the phrase.
So if he pardons him, it's gonna fall back on Trump, and Manafort's likely gonna get additional charges. Not to mention that if he pardons Manafort on these federal crimes, there's the state crimes that are surely going to follow. And in fact, Mueller actually put into his indictment something about state crimes.
Well, Mueller actually got Manafort to plead guilty to state crimes in his plea agreement. There's a lot of debate because there's actually a case that's in the Supreme Court right now that would bar states from charging people like Manafort after federal charges have been brought because it's double jeopardy. But it's going back and forth because they say that states are sovereign. They're sovereign from the federal government. So that's the argument that states should be able to go after somebody like Manafort. It should be interesting to see how that unfolds. But at the same time, I don't see the Supreme Court upholding a pardon. I think it would be challenged. And I think if they were to allow Trump to pardon Manafort, and it's proven that Trump did this as a means to help himself, it would set a precedent that it would basically allow every president in the history of this country to pardon anyone in order to escape a crime.
Yeah, it'll be no different than Trump pardoning himself, which if the Supreme Court did not overturn that, it would basically say that any president can commit any crime as long as they're going to win the election and they can pardon themselves. So
that's not what our forefathers wanted. So I don't think that's what the Supreme Court would rule in favor of.
It would be a 7-0 defeat. 9-0. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I think that there's a whole thing. Oh, but the Supreme Court's now conservative, but conservatives take the Constitution more literally than Democrats or liberals. So I just can't see it happening.
Yeah, I think that Trump's he's cornered in an Oval Office, which is basically impossible to happen, but he happened to get cornered. And he's cornered right now, and there's not really anywhere he can run to. He's gonna run out of options.
Somebody asked if we think that Don Jr. is going to be charged with lying to the House Intel Committee, or I guess the Judiciary Committee, one of the committees. I think he will. I can't see why he wouldn't. It seems obvious that Mueller has evidence that proves.
I think that's going to be the least of his worries.
Yeah.
Typically,
I think he could be indicted on that, and then they use that indictment as a means to try and get him to provide more information.
He's not gonna, I can't see him turning on his father. I don't know. Maybe I don't know their relationship all that great, but I don't see it. Hannity versus Krasenstein twins. Okay. I don't know if I really want to talk to that guy. He actually blocked me on Twitter because I pointed out something he posted that wasn't factual. So I don't think he really likes us very much. What are your thoughts on Nancy Pelosi being House Speaker?
I actually had somebody tweet. I made a joke. I think it was last night or the night before. I said the Democratic Congress should make Jim Acosta the Speaker of the House just to watch Trump implode or something along those lines. And a writer for the Huffington Post attacked me, saying that it was casual misogyny that I said that because I'm not supporting Nancy Pelosi. But if you read my tweets in the past, I fully support Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. I think she's
the best one to move us forward. She has experience in the position. I don't see anybody else that really. I don't see any reason anybody else should be in that position right now. Somebody said that Sean Hannity would run all over us, and I kind of agree, because I find it really difficult to argue with someone who lives in a different reality and someone who can just spout out complete fabrications in an alternate reality to try and discredit somebody and discredit their point of view. So yeah, he probably would run all over us.
If you're gonna base all of your arguments off of conspiracy theories that nobody can really prove wrong or prove correct, there's no sense in arguing with somebody.
And that's why his show is so successful and why so many people get brainwashed from watching his show. I guess.
Well, him and Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson just known for cutting everybody off. You ask a question, they give an answer that contradicts him. He just cuts them off and changes the subject.
Yeah, I've spoken to people that have been on Tucker Carlson's show, and they told me that basically when a question is answered, while they're answering the question that Tucker threw at them, they have sound played in the earphones that's delayed, so that you get all confused and discombobulated and flustered, and that doesn't surprise me at all. And it's interesting because Fox News has not tweeted in now, in 21 days, 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks since Fox News has made a single tweet. And their Fox News Facebook politics also has not posted. So that's interesting. We don't really know why. Yeah. We reached out to Fox News, and they reach out to us all the time when they want us to change something in a story.
Yeah, we've written, I think it's been 3 or 4 times now, we've actually written a story on Hill Reporter, one of us or one of our writers, and Fox News' PR team reaches out to us to include their comment, basically a rebuttal, in the article. And recently with the whole Michael Avenatti thing, we had a few exclusive articles where we got some sources that provided information. And Fox News attacked us, basically saying Ed and Brian Krasenstein were investigated for Ponzi schemes in their article. So I reached out to Fox News and I said, listen, we always provide a comment when you want to give us one. Let me give you a comment for this article, basically contradicting everything you just said about Ponzi schemes. And they never fixed the article. So again, they reached out to me the other day, asking me to add a comment into one of our articles. I said, wait, I just asked you to do the same for me, and you didn't do it. I'm not doing this for you anymore.
Yeah. And for anybody that's wondering, the whole Ponzi scheme thing that you probably see all the time by Russian bots and by those on the right, we didn't run Ponzi schemes. We never ripped anybody off in our lives. Basically, we had an internet site that we sold banner advertising on, and an organization...
Display ads. We sold display ads.
Yeah, and an organization who was a Ponzi scheme bought ads on our site, and they investigated us thinking that we were more connected to this company than we were.
They investigated us for conspiracy of wire fraud because they thought we were conspiring with these advertisers when these advertisers were just buying ads on our site. Unbeknownst to us, they were Ponzi schemes. And these companies also bought the same ads on Google and Facebook and I think even Twitter.
So we were never charged with a crime. Nothing ever happened. We turned over money related to the money that we received from these companies just because that was what we... Basically, it was money that was stolen, so we turned it back. We turned it over to them. We weren't charged with a crime. We weren't forced to turn information over about other people. Nothing like that happened. That's the truth. Anybody can actually figure it out themselves if they actually looked into it, but most people don't care to spend time looking into things like that.
And somebody asked about the video of us getting paid again. We just explained that earlier. Somebody took the video. You can watch the full video where Brian says, no, we don't get paid. And somebody edited it. They cut it off right after Brian jokingly said to me, who was the guy interviewing him.
It was a parody video for a podcast that we're going to do later on. And it was actually filmed in my upstairs, at my little bar upstairs.
And I was recording him, and I was like, is it true that you guys get paid to tweet?
Go and watch the video. You'll see it was that exact voice. And even the alcohol in my drink wasn't alcohol. It was just water with some bitters in it. It was just like a joke we were doing for this. We were going to have a video clip for our podcast, just like kind of like promoting it. And they took it and they edited it and they made it appear as if we were saying we're paid to sow chaos and we're paid by the higher ups, like alluding to George Soros, and it's kind of funny, but Twitter still refuses to remove some of the videos.
InfoWars had a big article on it, and that's how it went so viral. That what's the guy's name who runs InfoWars? The editor,
Joseph something. Joseph, I don't even know.
He's a big Twitter troll.
He's a big nutcase. Do you guys ever want to leave Florida? We're actually from New Jersey. We love Florida. Right now it's about 82 degrees. Well, maybe it's a little colder today, 75 or so.
Actually, I think it's pretty chilly today.
It is cold today, but typically at this time of year it's 75. It's sunny out all the time. Maybe not today. It's a little cloudy today, but we love Florida. Don't have any plans. We have a family here. I have a 2-year-old and a 1-month-old. So we're not going anywhere anytime soon. I bet you both dream of a hot war with Russia. No, that's the last thing I want. I don't want a war with anybody, especially Russia. I have kids and I want them to see a bright future, not a nuclear fallout disaster.
Yeah, so everybody's saying go New Jersey. We're actually from the Atlantic City area in a town called Summers Point, New Jersey.
All right, well, I guess we can wrap things up.
Yeah, so, I mean, we talked about a lot today. Maybe we'll do another one in a few days.
Yeah, we try to do these as often as we can, but it's really difficult. We're both busy. Like I said before, we're not actually sitting here on our computer tweeting all the time.
You can follow us on Twitter right down there if you want to. We tweet a lot, so if you don't want to get a lot of tweets, then don't follow us. And it was good talking to you guys again.